Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Universal Furniture. My name is Kayla Miller. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Universal. Just want to welcome you into our showroom, into our new redesigned learning center. If you've been here before, you may notice it looks a little different. The lighting sponsor throughout is Regina Andrew. If you have time this market, they are located on the first floor of the IHSC. I got a little sneak peek of their showroom on Thursday night, and it's absolutely stunning. They also did some redos there, so definitely go check that out if you have time. Some new things here at Universal. We have a new designer's lounge that's been redesigned as well, so definitely check that out while you're here. We have two new collections this market. We have Montclair, which is located on floor 2, and Oasis, which is an addition to our Coastal Living branded collection on floor 3. We also have a bunch of new introductions to our special order upholstery program and our ready to ship program, which is located here on floor 1. Now I'm going to turn it over to Ginna, and she's going to talk about the creative comeback. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Kayla. I'm so happy to be back at Universal, and I just love that you offer this educational programming. It's really special and important, and thank you for having me. So I want to start off telling you all to stick with me today. I unfortunately was in a car accident last night, a hit and run. A drunk driver ran a red light. I spent 4 hours in the emergency room. I do have a minor concussion, so if I forget my name at any point, just remind me it's Ginna. So if I'm a little taking pauses or forgetting words, that's what's happening up here. But I'm here because I wanted to be here. Not because I felt like I had to be here or I needed to be here, but because I wanted to be. It's been 2 years since I've been here at High Point. I was planning to be here last October, and unfortunately, my father-in-law passed away a day before market. And the year prior, my sister was diagnosed with a rare and aggressive form of cancer. And so that's been taking up a lot of my energy. And so I guess you could say the last 2 years I've been going through my own creative comeback. So that's why I wanted to talk about this subject today. One of the things that's been part of my journey and my own creative comeback is engaging in fun, which is why, and I know a couple people walked in and you haven't gotten one, but I do have cards that are also a sticker that say be inspired, and the whole idea is to remember us all to have fun. We don't have to take ourselves so seriously, and fun is a huge part of creativity. If we're not engaging in play or having fun, we're not feeding our creativity. So part of my fun have been a few different things. One, I started taking sewing class, not because I want to be a fashion designer or start making clothes, but just because I was craving an activity, something I could make with my hands and say, oh, look, I made this. And guess what? That's my first class. I'm sitting there in front of the sewing machine, and I've never sat in front of a sewing machine before. I just found myself over and over again saying, oh my God, I'm having so much fun. The other thing that I started engaging in is taking poetry class, because poetry has always been a passion of mine. And again, I don't think that I'm going to quit my coaching job anytime soon and become a poet, but it's just something I'm doing to feed my own creativity. So I'm going to start today by reading a part of a poem that I wrote recently called Punching Busyness in the Face. Your soul had a dream, the podcast host said, and that dream is your life. I can't remember which podcast, only that line, only the ache it left behind, because the life I'm living is no dream. I seem to be ignoring my soul's wishes, and for what? So I can be busy being busy? God, that's depressing. And still, the letting go of all this busyness is more of a struggle than I imagined. Each day, another do-over, each morning, another chance to remember I don't have to earn my worth by doing. Not by answering every ping, not by bowing to the blinking red dots, the endless scroll, the invisible measuring stick that keeps moving. This morning is my chance to listen to the tiny voice that lives inside me, the one born from stillness that says, it's okay to stop, to take a break, and just breathe. So that's a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today, because one of the things that I've learned in doing the coaching work that I do, I've been doing this since 2017, is that many of us are suffering from burnout of some level, and we don't even realize it. And we're not suffering burnout because there's something wrong with us, or that we're broken, or we're doing anything wrong. We're suffering from it because we've forgotten how to listen to ourselves and to take those cues as information to start doing things differently, to question, to lean into curiosity. So if any of you identified with anything that I read so far, this is an opportunity to start listening and do things differently. So I want to talk a little bit about the causes of burnout, because unfortunately burnout is something I know really well. I call myself a recovering burnout-aholic, and I have suffered from it for a couple of different reasons, and I think this is what most people experience. One case, and this is something I experienced when I really started doing work that mattered to me. You know, I felt driven by purpose. I couldn't stop moving forward. I couldn't stop taking on more responsibility, you know, and so I kept just putting more weight on my back, taking on more, saying yes to more things without ever asking for help. Because I had a dream, and I was going to fulfill that dream, and I was going to see it to fruition. So burnout can really come when we're really passionate about what we're doing, and we're caught up in the momentum, and again, we are not realizing that we don't have to sacrifice our own well-being to be successful. So one of the things that I have done as I've been really thinking about how even the clients I'm attracting right now are different, and how I'm approaching this work is different. It's really more about now taking a bigger picture approach. You know, I don't even want to call myself a business coach anymore. I'm calling myself a resiliency architect, because what I do is I help people design a way forward with ambition, with their dreams and their goals in mind, but in doing it in a way that they can maintain their resiliency and not continue to suffer from burnout over and over and over again the way I did. So the other cause of burnout is it's completely acceptable in our society. It's probably seen as a badge of honor. And so I don't know about I'd love to see actually people raise their hand if anybody was ever taught, hey, taking care of your own well-being is important. Burnout doesn't have to be part of your process. I never heard that. And so, you know, we're always encouraged to, oh, come on, just keep going. And so again, I'm trying here to sort of create a new narrative to let you know, again, like, burnout is not the answer. You know, I have so many people who come to me who are smart, who are driven, who are successful, who have big dreams, and they come to me at a point where they're ready to blow it all up, or at least they think they are, because they can't see a path forward where they're not experiencing burnout over and over again. So I hear things like, yeah, I've been doing this for 15 years, I'm ready to blow it up and to move to an island and just start designing furniture. I don't want to talk to another client again. And I know they don't really mean it, it's just what they're experiencing in the moment, right? And so what we do, or what I help my clients do, is find that other way. Find a way of moving forward in a way that works for them. Because the answers are not in somebody else's blueprint. They're not in someone else's template. They're inside you. And we just need to remember how to listen to ourselves again and trust ourselves enough to work in a way that works best for us, not to fit someone else's model. Am I right, Alexa? So what does burnout look and feel like? I think this is part of the problem, that many of us don't understand the symptoms of burnout or what it feels like. We just think we must be doing something wrong. You know, I'm feeling stuck, I'm overwhelmed, I'm stressed out all the time, I feel resentful. All I do is put out fires all day long. I never have enough time to get anything done. We don't see that as burnout. We don't see that as maybe, again, not listening to ourselves, to our intuition, to our gut about how to move forward. So these are some words on the screen to indicate some things you might be experiencing that are a sign that you could be experiencing burnout. I will tell you some other signals that you might be experiencing burnout and not realize what it is constant scrolling. Has anyone ever done that? An hour goes by and you don't realize it, and you've just been scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. Another thing I learned about recently, which I find fascinating, is something called sleep time procrastination. My husband does this. He comes home at night, you know, we have dinner, I go to bed at a normal hour, and he will stay up, scrolling, watching a dumb show, won't come to bed until midnight or 2 o'clock, because that is the only free time he has. So sleep time procrastination, it's a rebellion, but it's unconscious, right? So I want to give you some tools. How do we combat this burnout? What's something simple we can do? What's something you can take home with you? And I know that this is going to sound extraordinarily simple, but I have found doing this work that the answers are always simple. It doesn't mean they're easy. So this is the biggest one, and probably the first thing I learned when I went to coaching training. Should is a dirty, dirty word. It's the dirtiest. Should is could with shame attached. One of the things that I find when I'm working with a client is, you know, they'll come to me saying, God, I'm procrastinating this thing that's so important. Maybe it's time billing, okay? Procrastinating time billing. I don't get paid if I don't do my time billing, and I haven't done my time billing for 2 months. I should be doing my time billing. I should be doing my time billing. And these are the words I listen for, right? And so once the client finishes kind of getting out everything about how they should be doing time billing, I always say, do you realize how many times you said the word should? Oh my God, I did? I didn't even realize I said that word. But should really does put us in a victim space. It makes us feel like we have shackles on. It makes us feel like things are happening to us and that we don't have a choice. And words have power, they have energy, and they impact the way we show up in the world. So really paying attention to these things, and this isn't woo-woo anymore. There's neuroscience that backs all this up. So I'm gonna walk you through a little experiment now for you to kind of experience and understand the impact of the words that you might be using. So does anyone here have something that they have been telling themselves they should do recently? And you want to shout it out. What have you been telling yourself you should do? Okay, I need to do this pool spec and design. How about you up here? I should take a break. You're definitely procrastinating that. Anybody else? I should clean out my back shed. Okay, so we're going to do a little experiment now. And I find it helpful to close your eyes, but if you're not comfortable doing that, you can leave them open. But for each of you here, just find that thing that you should be doing, okay? And I'm just going to ask you to close your eyes and repeat that to yourself. I'm going to say, be doing yoga every day. I should be doing yoga every day. I could be doing yoga every day. Now repeat that sentence. I could. And the next one is, I want to be doing yoga every day. Okay, now open your eyes and would love for a couple of people to maybe share what they noticed. Anybody willing to share? Yes. A sense of accountability. Tell me more. Can you say more about that? Yeah. 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 So I hear that it's turning on curiosity for you. It's opening up a question. That's great. Anybody else knows anything? Yes. I should learn to say no. Oh, did everybody hear that? I actually have the control to say no. Right. When you change that word, it gives you a different energy so that you can move forward. I saw one more hand up if you would like to share. Ah, should feels like a weight and want feels like a gift. Yeah. I know for me, when I say those words to myself, I almost feel like should makes me small. Should makes me like crunch over and like become that victim, right? That things are happening to. When I step into could, well, that opens possibility. And so I feel like my body posture changes. You know, my chest kind of pops out and, you know, I feel that. I feel like I have the power now. And then want for me feels like focused determination, like get out of the way because I'm going for it, right? Okay. So here's another thing that I just wanted to touch on because, you know, I mentioned earlier I've had more than one client come to me saying something like, I want to burn it all down and move to a yurt and like just design furniture for the rest of my life and not have to deal with any clients. However, I don't believe that we need to blow up our lives in order to create change. You know, it does start with saying no. And giving ourselves permission to not feel guilty about working in a way that feels best for us. So I have a question for all of you, because this is something that I had to work on for years, okay? I used to work as a creative director. Before I became a coach, I worked in this industry for a very long time, and my last position was with a rug company called Woven. And I would find that whenever I would get stuck, you know, I'd be working on a creative problem or an idea, and I just couldn't find the answer. I would get stuck, and no amount of typing on my computer or staring at my screen would bring me the answer. You know what would? A walk around the block. And yet, it was so hard for me to get up from my desk, go outside, and take a walk around the block. I felt guilty. That's not working, I told myself. And yet, it was the quickest way for me to get to the next step. So it made absolutely no sense, right? It was almost like I've been programmed, which we all have. I don't know, how many people here heard growing up, you have to work hard to make money. You've got to show up earlier and stay later than everybody else. You know, you have to put in the time. And so when you continue to hear these messages over and over and over again since you were 4 years old, why in the world would you think it's okay to take a walk around the block? Right? Even though, again, it's the quickest path to getting the answer, right? To maybe even accessing your creativity. I don't know about any of you here, but I also tend to get my best creative ideas when I'm in the shower, not when I'm staring at my screen. So there is an unlearning we all need to do here. And it may feel, I think the hardest part is it may feel like it's not productive, it's not efficient, it's not the way work is supposed to look like. And yet it's probably the most effective and proactive and time-saving path forward that you can take. We gotta get rid of that guilt. We gotta reprogram. So I had a session this past week with a client who is going through a transition. She just came out of a job where it was a very toxic environment, and she's healing her burnout so she can find her next new job. And one of the things that she told me, and I thought that this was just like, oh my God, so brilliant. You know, sometimes we do need to grind. Sometimes we've got to meet a deadline. Sometimes we have to work 14 hours to get that install done, right? Sometimes we We have to come to High Point and not look at email, and then when we get home, it's gonna be emails from clients, phone calls, things we have to catch up on, and it's a grind. But so many of us are grinding just to grind. It's like we've gotten used to it. Again, it's going back to that cartoon from before, just keep going. Like, we need to pick and choose. We need to realize and understand, why are we grinding? Are we grinding because we have something to prove? Or are we grinding because, yes, like, listen, I'm grinding today being here. Okay? I mean, I gave myself some grace. My original plan was to spend the whole day at market and, go and see people and say hello, and I didn't do that. I let myself sleep in, and I'm gonna go home right after this. But I knew I wanted to be here. This was my choice to grind. But you better believe I'm gonna go to bed at 8 and probably stay in bed all day tomorrow. So just again, if we can open up, like you said earlier, to that curiosity, to start asking the questions, is this necessary? Who's putting this deadline on me? Is this realistic? Because when we think about the impact that burnout has on us, do you think when you're burnout, you're able to access your greatest creative potential? Everybody's shaking their heads. No, it's not. And we're all creatives in this room, right? We're all doing creative work of some kind. And so if we are going to do the best work and show up as our best selves in everything we do for our clients, for the people we love, for our team, we want to make sure we're not grinding just to grind. I've seen this and experienced it, and I've had clients come to me, to help them through this. I mean, one of the things that happens with burnout too is we get in this mindset of only noticing all the things that are going wrong and none of the things that are going right. And there's a lot of resentment. And listen, I know a lot of you here, you're business owners, you're leading teams, maybe a small team, but you're leading a team. And, the way you show up for your team also impacts their work. And you want people working for you who are proactive, who are problem solvers, who are gonna help you fix the problems, not just bring them to you, right? And when we're burnout, what do we do? I know me. I get resentful. I get quick. I get snappy. I'm probably not that pleasant to be around. But when I'm in the space of actually putting my oxygen mask on first and realizing that my role as a leader is to help lift each other, the people that I'm with up, I'm there to listen. I'm there to help them, right, so that they can problem solve for me. I can't do that if I'm not at a place of burnout. So I only point this out, again, just because I think this is a conversation that doesn't happen enough, the cost of burnout. Because again, I see so many people, myself included, for a really long time, that 10 years probably. I mean, I had 1 year where I had 6 sinus infections in a year. That's how burnout out I was. And it really took me, it's actually those 6 sinus infections that made me go into coaching. I met with a coach at the time who helped me recognize, because I couldn't see the pattern for myself. I couldn't, even though I was experiencing it, I couldn't see it. And she helped me see what I was doing. And as soon as she turned that light on, there was no unseeing it. And I remember the words that came out of my mouth after she kind of pointed it out. And I said, I can't do this anymore, it's killing me. If I'm gonna keep doing this work, I have to figure out another way. And I promise you, there is another way. I mean, I keep reinventing the way I'm working. I mean, I have changed the work I'm doing. From being a creative director to now working with people, supporting them as a resiliency architect. But it continues to shift and change as I continue to shift and change. I don't know, I turned 50 almost 2 years ago, and I am not the same person I was when I was 30. And comparison is a really nasty thing. And we often are aware of when we're comparing ourselves to others, when we're looking at those Instagram, posts and thinking, why is this person doing so much better than I am? But we don't think about, at least I never did, how we compare ourselves to our younger selves. So I know when I turned 50 and I started to feel this, like, I don't want to hustle the same way I used to. That was really hard. 2 years in, I'm making peace with it. But it's all about finding another way of working. You can still be ambitious. You can still go after your dreams. It's just learning a new way. So I have a few questions I'm just going to pose to you now to kind of consider. If you want to write them down, feel free. But really think about where in your life you're feeling the most pressure to keep going, even when you're tired, overwhelmed, or craving rest. Anything coming to mind for anyone? And if that pressure had a voice, what would it be saying to you? Just keep going? You're a failure if you quit? I don't know, these are just some things that come to mind for me, yeah. And what is the voice afraid might happen if you slowed down or took a break? I think this is the most important question, actually, because fear is really sneaky. And the fears that live in our heads are usually, it's like the monster that lives in your head is a lot scarier than the monster you face or you look in the eye. And so, one of the things I will do with my clients when they say to me, well, I just can't do that. Okay, why? What are you afraid of? They'll give me, 10 reasons, 10 things that they're afraid will happen. I'll lose my business. I won't get another client. My clients will fire me. I said, okay, great. Let's dive into those. On a scale of 1 to 10, what are the chances that actually is going to happen? I will tell you 9 times out of 10, the answer I get is 1, it's really not going to happen. It's just a thought in my head. But that's a really great practice. This is something to take home with you when you find that fear is stopping you, to ask yourself that question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how likely is that to happen? Because it kind of can give you that freedom to move forward in the way you really want to and do the thing that you want to implement, whether it's raise your prices, work with fewer clients, downsize, whatever it is. And then if you do find that you ask yourself that question and you're like, oh, actually it's about a 7, it could happen, well then the next step is to look at, okay, well what can I do to sort of protect myself from happening? Is there something I can do to kind of ease myself into this? Or if it does happen, what would be the solution? Again, these are questions I don't remember learning in school. Okay. And lastly, if I gave myself permission to listen to myself, really listen, what would I hear? As I shared in the poem earlier this morning, this fight to not just be busy to be busy or grind to grind, it's a practice. It's not easy. It's not easy for me. I have to remind myself every day. And there are days that I wake up. I read a book recently that I highly recommend. Of course, the title just went out of my head, but it will come back to me. Carlos Whitaker is the author, and it is Reconnected. That's the name of the book. And, in it, he goes through this experience of taking 7 weeks away from screens. Because being on screens all the time, whether it's his phone, the TV, the computer, was really impacting the way he was interacting with people, the way he was interacting with himself, not being able to connect to himself. So one of his practices during the book was to drink his coffee, sit on his front porch, and just pay attention to everything that's going on around him. So I try, I'm not always successful. Most days I am these days, that I will sit and drink my coffee and I stare out the window. And it's my time to just be with me, not to work on my to-do list, although if an idea does pop in my head, I will write it down, but that's not the purpose, because it's probably the only time in the day I'm up before my husband, my dog's still asleep, where I have time for me. to not do anything, to act like a poet. This is what poets do. They sit by the window and they stare out the window and they wait for inspiration. So this is another question to really consider. What's one thing I could let go of? So there's an exercise I will do with a lot of clients, especially if they're in this place of feeling, overwhelmed, again, like they don't have enough time, is to make a list of their drains and gains. So that would mean, what are all the tasks that I work on in a week that really drain me of my energy? Let me go through my week and really take note. Oh God, I hate doing this thing. Just make a list, and then make a list of the things that you really love, that make time feel like it stands still in a good way, where you almost become one with the thing you're working on. And then from there, it's all about looking at the lists and thinking, okay, what on my list of drains can I maybe let go of or delegate, spend less time on? And how can I make more time for the gains? I mean, you do that one thing. Do that and eradicate should from your vocabulary, and it will change your life. I'm not saying, it sounds really simple, I'm telling you, but it doesn't mean it's easy. So, actually, I'm going to go back here before I get to how you can work with me. I want to know, does anybody have any questions? Anything happening from them right now? Any going, Ginna, you are full of it. I don't believe any of this. That's fine too. You just walked in, so. Yeah. No. Go ahead. Uh, Oh, you're welcome. Well, thank you for coming. And right here in front. Mm. Yeah. 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 So thank you for that, because this is yes, this is a real problem, right? I think this is probably the most challenging thing, and I don't have children myself, but I think being a working mom is probably the hardest thing that there is. So without just hearing that information from you about like, what do I do, about the obligations I have at home, and also I'm imagining work is something that probably maybe financially is important for you right now? It's a passion. Yeah. 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 Yes. So here's the thing: like you are creating, you're being a model to your children, right? Of what is possible. So what I would encourage you to do is think about, what do you want to model, right? Because if you want to model to them that, listen, having your own life is important because it's important to you. It's important to listen. All women deserve to have their own life outside of their children. So think about what you want to model, why you want to model that. Understanding the why behind it is really important. And then even when it comes to your kids, you need to take time for yourself and put your oxygen mask on first, because if you don't, again, if you're suffering from burnout with your children, how does that mean you show up as a mom? Are you patient? Are you kind? Are you as loving as you possibly can be? Or are you irritable? Do you snap at them? Do you not listen fully to what they have to say, right? So I know this is not easy. Again, this answer seems really simple, but I know it's really hard. And I think guilt is a really big part of it here as well, that we don't fully understand, because nobody taught us, that taking care of ourselves is the most important thing. We need to prioritize rest. I actually just had a session with a client who was putting off marketing and self-promotion. She loves what she does, she wants to be of service, and she's putting it off. And at the end of the session, the thing that she realized in her biggest takeaway was that her number one priority needs to be rest. So that could mean for you staying in bed longer than you think you need to. That's just one little thing. You know, doing something to recover. Okay, yes, in the back. Hold on, I'm gonna give you the microphone so we can hear you. Hold on.
Hi, I'm Lisa from Connecticut. I resonate with you because I am a mom of 3 boys, but from the way you were speaking and just how you look, I'm assuming that your children are much younger than mine. But if I can just add something, because I've been there, like I've totally been there. I think it's very, very important to set boundaries, not only with your clients, but set the dynamics that you want at home, right? I'm sorry. But, you know, like as far as, you know, you said you're completely burnt out and like sometimes you just want to throw the client away. And I can tell you, like, with or without the kids, sometimes you just want to throw the client away, right? But when it comes to, you know, trying to prioritize everything, something that worked for me is realizing that you have to have like a hard separation of church and state. And as a business owner, it is really difficult. As a business owner who's a mom with young kids, I can imagine it being, not imagine, it was really difficult for me because I thought, okay, I have this business, I have a shop, and so I would bring my boys to the shop, and it's like, and then it was crazy time at the shop. Like my employees are like babysitting when like certain clients come in, right? So I made a hard stop. I decided that when I leave the shop and I go into my house, or even if I'm working at home, right? That time is when I don't have to basically like deal with my children. And when I come home, I am home until we have like bedtime. And then I can be on again, right? I can check emails, I can do whatever. But like separating church and state will like help you out so much. And telling clients, like setting your boundaries, like setting a schedule in your head. Like I only do house calls on Tuesdays and Thursdays. If someone needs something on a Monday, I only do house calls on Tuesdays and Thursdays, you know? So like just set the boundaries. Thank you. No, but I feel, you know, I got up and said something because I understand how it is to have small children and like try to be a businesswoman, and you want to be successful. And I'll tell you what, my oldest son went off to college. My middle son is going off to college this year. And it's like, what about me? You know? So you're doing the right thing.
Thank you so much for that. I mean, again, we're serious pearls of wisdom right there. And the 2 things that stood out most were boundaries, which I'm going to tell you, I know it's really hard, especially for women, especially women who want to be of service. And the setting of the boundaries and the keeping the boundaries can be like death by 1,000 paper cuts. You know, because if someone asks you, gave a great example, like I only do these house calls, like having that boundary in place of Tuesday and Thursday, it makes it very clear, right? You need to have clarity. Clear is kind, unclear is unkind, as Brene Brown says. You need to have that clarity. Because you know, if you have a client, especially one that's really good at just like, can you just do this one thing? can you just do this one thing, right? And that happens over and over and over and over and over again. All of a sudden, you're like 10 miles away from where you started, and you don't even know how you got there because it happened one step at a time. So I think, yes, clarity, boundaries, 100%. And the other really important thing you shared was having presence. When you're at work, you're at work. You're not at work thinking about the kids and feeling guilty about the kids at home. And when you're at home, you're not feeling guilty and thinking about all the stuff you have to do at work. That will kill you. It will drive you mad. So like having that presence and actually being there for the people. You know, it's funny, my dad growing up when I was a young kid, he worked 6 days a week. I remember this. And he worked late. I don't think he would come home until 8 or 9 o'clock at night during the week. But I never felt like my dad wasn't there. And the reason why was when he was home and he was present with us. He wasn't like reading the paper in the corner or watching TV. He was engaged and he was playing with us. So I never felt like he wasn't there. So I think that's just a really important thing to remember, is just that presence. And that's not always easy. It's not always easy. Any other moms have anything else they want to share, or anyone else have any questions? Yes. Oh, wait, I saw this one first, and then we'll come back to you. Here, I'm going to give you the mic so we can all hear you.
Hi, I'm Destiny, and I just want to say to the lady in front of me that you are not alone. And I literally just said almost everything you just said at a table and outside, and I homeschool my children. So you add that additional layer, like your eyes were like, what? So there's a whole nother added layer, and literally, like have been feeling like so drained, burnt out, like my mojo is gone, like what am I doing? And feeling like, am I succeeding in anything that I'm doing right now? And then, and just right now I'm at a place like, okay, you need to take a step back, regroup, like she's saying, create the boundaries, even though I think I have some, but create a schedule, stick to the schedule. It doesn't make sense to write one down and never stick to it. You know what I'm saying? But I love what you're saying. Like, for me, it's the same thought. Like, I'm doing this for my daughters, and they're 6 and 8, so they're, we're still in the thick of it with these 2 little ones. But I want to encourage you, as I'm encouraging myself, like, if I have a will to do it and just take some time to think about it, like, it can be done. And there are women that have gone before us, whether they homeschool or not, but they had young children, they created wonderful businesses, and they did great things. And I'm like, if they can do it, I can figure it out. And if we can figure it out, so I just want to offer you that encouragement.
Thanks so much for that share. And if I can add something to what you said, because there are 2 things that you said that are really interesting. When you shared about the homeschooling, and again, the overwhelm that you're experiencing, it's taking that step back. I love that you said that, taking the step back. Look at the big picture, what's working here, what's not, but understand why you're doing what you're doing. Really diving into that. Asking yourself why, and then why is that important? This is another thing we learned in coaching, is ask why 3 times. Because you really want to understand where the motivation is coming from. Is it coming from you, or is it coming from someone else's expectation? Is it coming from what you really want, or something you're trying to prove, right? And then the other thing you mentioned was, you said, if I have the will, right? And there's something about willpower. It is very strong. It can help us push through a lot, but our will needs rest. Our willpower works like a bank, okay? We have to put deposits of rest in it, or we're gonna just start bouncing checks. So it's still like not neglecting yourself in that way. Makes sense? Yeah. Okay, and then question here, right?
All my boys are in college now. So I'll touch really quick, but do it. Like, it's one thing to say it, but do it. Because my oldest son is 24, and even though I had a business since they were born, and I would drag them to the business with me, he's like, Mom, you were never present. He's like, and here I am thinking, you were with me all the time. Like, you never left my side. And he's like, but you weren't there. And it broke my heart. And now I am. They call me. I don't care if I'm in a client meeting or whatever. I drop the phone for them because that's the most important thing. Everything else can wait. Anyhow, now about me, because you you said something right when we walked in that literally I just told her outside. I will turn 50 this year, and I am just done. I'm like, I'm burnt out, and like I want to go sell like chips on the beach, and like, but I guess I'm being a little bit of a, not a hypocrite, but like I have to do it, just do it, like, but I don't know how.
I do love the Just Do It by Nike. However, if we're forcing things, we're not working with our own energy, okay? And so if you're in the place where you just want to sell chips on the beach, you're in the thick of burnout, right? You need some rest. Like, you need to take as many breaks as you can, because you need to recover, have a little recovery first before you can figure out what to do next. Yeah. Whatever you think. But like, again, you don't have to blow up your life. You don't. You can start small, but you can, it's what feels right for you. But I typically find that people who tell me that, it's not the full story. It's not really what they want underneath. You know what I'm saying? Like, they still want something. It's just the way they work changes. So another example, I have a client I've been working with for some time, and she was one of those people that came to me and said, yeah, I've been doing this for 15 years. I have this really successful business. I'm ready to blow it up. I'm ready to blow it up. And I was like, okay, I'm not convinced that's really what you want, so sell me on it, And what we found in doing our work together, because I got to be honest with you, like doing this coaching work, or the way I approach coaching, it's not, I don't have templates. I don't have things that you're going to follow. This is about me asking questions and deeply listening to help you find the answers that you have within you that you don't realize are there. Okay, because I feel like we've all been spending so much time, myself included. There's more noise out there than it has ever been. There are more experts in our inbox, on our phones, telling us the way we should be doing things, that we've forgotten how to trust ourselves and how to listen and ask, how to look for the answers that we have within us. Because only you have the answers for you. And that's what I do. That's the work. It's helping you find the answers and the pathway forward. Maybe you are going to move to the beach and sell chips. I don't know. But I normally find that people who come to me saying that it's not really it. Yeah. Right. Okay. Sorry, we got someone in the back here. I'm going to bring you the mic. Sure.
You mentioned, is it something that you really want or something that you want to prove? Could you expand on that?
Okay. This is a big one, the need to prove. So the interesting thing about feeling like you need to prove is I find that people who are hyper overachievers experience this a lot. It's not about celebrating the win or the journey. It's about that measuring stick that's always moving. Am I measuring up? Am I proving to myself? So, this even goes back to thinking about imposter syndrome. Am I doing this? For example, let's say, because a lot of clients will come to me saying, I want to get press. Okay, why do you want to get press? Well, I want to get clients. And I have to tell them right then, it's not the way to get clients. I mean, I've been told this by designer after designer. They had the Elle Decor cover, and they didn't get any clients from it. Right? So not directly, it doesn't like it comes overnight and the faucet's on. There are other ways to get clients. So why are you getting press? Oh, I'm getting press because I want to prove to myself that I am a good designer, that I am worthy. And sometimes that's okay. If you understand why and it's actually going to be supportive of you and it's going to give you the confidence you need to actually move forward and hold those boundaries that are important with your clients, then great. But it's all about understanding, again, the motivation behind it. Am I doing things? I had another client who, she came to me one day and was like, I don't know what's going on. All of a sudden, none of my clients are making decisions. And when they do make a decision, they're calling me the next day and changing their mind. And so we started diving into that. And what she realized is she was showing up what she called as the tap dancer, which meant that she was trying to prove to them that she was good enough and smart enough and creative enough to take on their project, right? But she wasn't being authentic. And they could sense that. And it was making her clients lose trust in her. And so they weren't making decisions. So what we uncovered in our session was that if she showed up as the tour guide, that's what leadership is to her. If I show up as the tour guide, like I am here to lead this person, to kind of point out what's important, to make it fun, not to tell them what to do, but to be along on the ride with them, then I feel authentic. So she made that tiny shift in the way she was showing up for client meetings, even in her emails and all interactions with her clients. And guess what happened? They started making decisions. Does that answer your question? Okay. Yes. Yes. Okay. So, anyone else before I move on to my own sales pitch here? No? Good. Okay. So, this is something I'm really excited about. It's something I've just created, and it's called the Resilient Master Membership. And what this is all about is, again, I'm trying to think of more and better ways to add value. And I find that no one really likes to go through transformation in a vacuum. And so part of what this program is all about is, again, when we're creating change, when we're trying to decondition from these things we've been hearing since we're 4, we need repetition. We need to create momentum. So part of the program is 3 days a week, you're getting an email in your inbox that's gonna focus on a certain theme having to do with this creative comeback. How do we build a more resilient life and career? To kind of like really drive the message home so it's staying front of mind. Otherwise, what happens? I hope you all do take notes today and take this home with you and implement some of these things. But what happens more times than not, I mean, I know it's happened to me, we get really excited and 3 months later, we've forgotten all this information. So I wanted to really create a system where it keeps coming to you so that you don't forget. It also includes bi-weekly group sessions, bi-monthly group coaching sessions, so twice a month. There's a chat so that in between when we meet, questions can be asked and answered, the group can interact with one another. I have 2 courses that I've recently created, one called the Resilient Reset, which is a 30-day program, self-guided, as well as a course called the Creative Comeback, which really dives in even further to the things that we talked about today, specifically with burnout. It gives you more tools on how to heal them. And then it also gives you 5 one-on-one sessions with me. It really is designed to be a year-long program because I find that, again, the work of realignment, it takes time. It's not a quick fix. It's really a lifelong experiment. And then actually, I have up here $100 off any additional realignment sessions, but for people here at High Point, they're gonna get $200 off. So if any of you are interested in doing this, you can come and talk to me, you can email me, you can look on my website that has more information, and you can follow me. I have a Substack called the Resiliency Lab. So you can follow me on the Resiliency Lab and get, it's not as regular as sort of the paid program, but I do have a free option where of course, like, you want to get to know me. I get it. Like, I don't think anyone should work with anyone that they don't feel like is a right fit for them, that doesn't sort of resonate. So it's a way to get to know me better. And of course, you can also follow me on Instagram for the same reason. And then if any of you are really serious about learning more about the program, I also offer a free discovery session. Because again, I wouldn't want anyone to sign up for this without having a real conversation to make sure it's the right thing for them. Okay, well, thank you all so much for coming. I really appreciate it.